Sparky. We work together at Doghouse, and I just want to show you a few little tricks of how you might get your dog used to having their paw held, and why it's important to be able to hold your dog's paw. So if your dog ends up with a thorn in their foot, which is bound to happen at some point, or you need to trim their nails, you really want your dog to be comfortable with having their paws held. So to start with, when they're a puppy or a new dog in your house, if you can teach them how to do paw and give you their paw, you have a really fun way of desensitizing them to touch on their feet. And you can do this, now Sparky will do it immediately because he's done it his whole life, but you can teach a dog to do paw by holding a treat in your cupped fist. And if you hold it in your fist in front of the dog and let them sniff, they will know there's a treat in there. And at some point, the dog is going to touch your fist with his paw in order to try and get the treat out. At that point, you say paw and open your hand, and the dog gets the reward. So very quickly they will learn, and you can see Sparky is very keen to demonstrate. So I'm just going to hold my paw here. He knows there's a treat in there, and I'll say paw, 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 paw. There we go. And did you see he touched his paw onto my hand? I'll just let him finish that. So if you teach your dog how to do paw, and Sparky knows this, so we'll just go ahead. Paw, paw. Yeah, never work with children or animals. So I'm holding his paw, I'm going to let him have the treat, and I'm going to keep hold of his paw. And while you're holding his paw, and he's having the treat, you can just start to rub your fingers around it and get him used to the feel of you putting your finger between his toes. And this will enable you to check for mats in the future. Now, he doesn't like it terribly, dogs don't generally, but he's tolerating it. And I've actually just taken my other hand and put my fingers behind his elbow, which stops him pulling the paw away. Good boy, stay still. And now, even though he's moving, he's letting me quite happily hold his paw, and I can check his nails, I can check between his paws, and then if I need to, I can flip the paw over and start to look in his pads and check between his pads for any lumps or knots or compacted earth or thorns that might get in there. And this is just a really useful, there, good boy, a really useful habit to get into with your dog, so that you can be sure that if you need to trim his toenails, or you need to trim mats from between his toes, or wash between his toes, or look for something on his feet, that he's really comfortable with you touching his paws. So again, I shall just do it from this side so you can see. I'll ask him to sit first. Sit down, sit down. Good boy. And then we say paw. Good boy. And I'm just hanging on to that. You see how he's pulling away. But I'm just going to hang on to it, and I'm going to put my hand behind his elbow, which stops him pulling it away. And then I'm just going to rub around his feet. Good boy. There you go. Between his toes. I'm talking to, there's a tickly bit there, isn't there? And he's tickly there. What's that in there? Good boy. No. Good boy. And I'm reassuring him. Good boy. There we go. And again, if I need to, I can flip his paw over and just check underneath to make sure that there's not any stones between his pads. And I don't know if you can see how much you can flex their feet apart, but really, really good training for a young dog or an old dog. There we go, good boy. And it's the same with the back. You should be able to pick up your dog's back feet. I'm just going to lean in here, good boy. And again, I can pick up his foot, I can rub my fingers in between his toes, just check for any little lumps or stones that might be caught in there. And again, if you just flip it backwards gently, I can look at his back pads and run my fingers in between. And you can tell it does make him tickle a little bit, it does tickle him, but he's letting me just have a little feel around. Really good habit to get into with your dog to help prepare them for grooming and for life. Nail trimming, first aid, you name it, it's just the most important thing to be able to touch your dog's feet. Thank you very much, Sparky. Bye.